Hello my dear students, welcome back to the another virtual class of history. So today we are going to start with a very new chapter from history, that is about the age of the Guptas. Age of Guptas. So in the previous class we discussed about elections, election commission. So today we are going to discuss about age of Guptas. So before this chapter in history we discussed about Sangam age. So now we are going to deal with the Gupta period. Okay, you might have heard about Samudra Gupta, you might have heard about Chandragupta I and all. So when this dynasties were established, we are going to discuss today. So we know that in order to in order to reconstruct the history of the past, we need various sources, because without proper sources we cannot get a proper idea about that particular age. So this age definitely had given us a lot of important sources through which we can easily reconstruct the age of the Guptas, and then we can understand more about the Gupta period. So before this we need to tell you about that in the year 319 AD or 320 AD, Chandragupta I, the founder of Gupta dynasty, conquered some territories in eastern Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. After him, his son Samudragupta expanded his territory and established a large empire covering the greatest various smaller kingdoms and the republics. Okay, so in order to know more about the Gupta empire and the rulers, we need to focus on the literary sources of that time. So let us start first with the literary sources, and after that archaeological sources also will deal with that. Okay, so you can see here I have mentioned it over here, literary sources. The first one, the works of Kalidasa, will discuss. Okay, and then we'll discuss about the accounts of foreign travelers. Okay, Fa-hien and Huangshan, who had visited India. They also had given us a lot of information as per their visit and their document. That also we'll discuss after this. So literary sources, first of all let us discuss about Kalidasa. So you can see Kalidasa was the greatest playwriter. He also wrote poems, long poems, short poems. Okay, Kalidasa. So you can see here Kalidasa wrote 3 plays. Kalidasa had written how many plays? 3 plays, drama. Okay, the first one was Abhijanam Sakuntalam. Okay, the second one was Bikramur Vashyam, and the third one you can see here Mala Vigag Nimaram. Okay, these were the 3 plays written by Kalidasa. So apart from these 3 plays, he wrote 2 long poems. 2 long poems were written by Kalidasa. Number 1 Raghuvansam, and the second one is Kumara Sambhasam. Okay, and apart from that he also wrote one poem. It was not Meghadutam. It was Meghadutam. You might have heard about these names earlier also. So we'll discuss about this what are the main content of these poems and how do we get the ideas about those time. So you can see here that Abhijanam Sakuntalam, this one Abhijanam Sakuntalam deals, his Abhijanam Sakuntalam has attained great fame as a great epic of work in modern times. It is a story of love of King Dushyanta and Sakuntala, who became the mother of Bharat, the successor of Dushyanta. It's a story about that. Okay, the next one we can see this one Vikramur Visham is based on the romance of a king, Paurava, and an Apsara, the heavenly damsel named Urvashi. It's a story about the king Paurava and the damsel Urvashi. Okay, then the third one Malavikramitram. This one Malavikramitram is a story about, it's a historical, it is based on history even during the reign of Pushyamitra Sunga. Before this, before the Gupta period, Sunga dynasty was there. So it throws light on that dynasty also. Okay, and then this one, the long poem Raghuvansam. So let me tell you, my dear, whatever literary sources are written during those period, my dear, it reflects the age. It gives us a mirror image of that period. So whatever is depicted, that throws a light on the Gupta period. Raghuvansam. So Raghuvansam is a story of Raghu clan in which Lord Rama was born. Okay, the subject matter of Kumara Sambham is a marriage of Shiva and Parvati and the birth of their son Kartike. Birth of their son Kartike, also known as Kumara, who led the army of gods against the demons. He led the army of God against the demons. So this is all about Raghuvansham. Okay, and then this Meghadutam. Meghadutam also throws a very important light, my dear. What is Meghadutam all about? It is a poem, is a beautiful poem about Yaksha. Who is Yaksha? Yakshas were imagined as being supernatural powers and came somewhere between gods and men. It is been kept in between gods and men. Okay, Yaksha. Okay, so this Meghadutam vanished from his home, asking the clouds to carry his message to his beloved. The Yaksha gives directions to the clouds about the routine from Ramgiri in the Deccan, where he was banished to Alkapuri in the Himalayas, where his beloved lived. So these are some of the stories that we have nothing to deal with it. But altogether, these works, Kalidasa works, Abhijanam Sakuntalam, Bikram Orsam, Malvigan Nimiram, and Raghuvansam, Kumara Sambhavam, and Meghadutam throws much light about the Gupta period. So what all lights are thrown by the works of Kalidasa? Number one, Kalidasa works gives us a comprehensive idea about the religious life. Number two, moral and ethical values. Number three, social customs and values. And number four, ideals of beauty which prevailed during that period. Ideals of beauty that prevailed during that period. Okay, and this work, Raghuvansam as well as Meghadutam. Raghuvansam and Meghadutam okay, also gives us interesting information about the contemporary knowledge about the different geographical regions, their vegetations, some towns and cities that existed during that time. So we can get much information about the Gupta period from the works of Kalidasa. Okay, Kalidasa was the greatest playwright. He was a poet. Okay, so this throws much light on the Gupta period. Okay, so apart from Kalidasa, many other poets were also there. Minor poets were also there. That also throws light on the Gupta empire. So now next we'll discuss about is the accounts of foreign traveler. So now the second literary sources which comes under accounts of foreign travelers. These foreign travelers, they came to India. Okay, and whatever they saw, they recorded. Now that also helps a lot in order to reconstruct the history of the Gupta period. So first one was Fa-hien. So I am giving you the star over here. As per the reduced syllabus, this is very important. Okay, Fa-hien. Okay, so who was Fa-hien and why did he come to India? Okay, so Fa-hien was a Chinese Buddhist monk. As you know that the birthplace of Buddha. Okay, and the place of enlightenment, where Siddhartha was enlightened and later on he became Gautam Buddha, is a place in India. So many of the Buddhists, they definitely come in our country for pilgrimages and all. So he was a Chinese Buddhist monk who came on a pilgrimage to India in about 399. Okay, 399 AD. Okay, 399 AD and left the country 414. So he left in the year 400. He came in 399 AD and left in the year 414 AD. Okay. So during his stay in this country and when he moved from place to place, from in between different kingdoms, what all he saw, he all mentioned and recorded in his account. He wrote an account of his travel in the country in a book called Fa-hien. So it is mentioned over here. Let me see. Fa-hien. Okay, so Fa-hien is a book written by Fa-hien. Okay, Fa-hien's account of his visit to India, okay, or during his stay in India is recorded in this book known as Fa-hien. Okay, so this book is a very important source of information about the Gupta period. This book gives us an account of an important towns and cities, Buddhist pilgrimages, caves, okay, Buddhist pilgrimage centers, and also his observations about the life of an ordinary people. So this is what whatever he saw, whatever he passed through, he recorded in his book. Okay, he has written almost nothing about the rulers through whose kingdoms he passed, but visit fell within the reigns of Chandragupta II of the Gupta dynasty. So Fa-hien's observation about Indian social customs, practices gives us an outsider's view about the society of his time. He writes about by parts the people were vegetarian, abstain from the use of onion and garlic. They were devoted followers of principles of ahimsa. Only one class of people, known as Chandals, were non-vegetarian and indulged in hunting, but such people were condemned as social outcasts and they generally lived outside the city. So this is what he had seen and he had recorded in the books. He even admires the administrative machinery of Gupta Empire. People, he says, enjoyed perfect freedom in all walks of life. There was no interference of the government in the day-to-day life of the people. Laws were mild and severe punishments were rare. Roads and highways were safe and free from robbery. So you can see, so when he came as a pilgrimage, so he visited different places. So what all he saw, all he recorded in his book. And that book now has played a very important role in throwing light about the Gupta Empire. According to Fa-hien, Buddhism flourished in all parts of India, particularly in Punjab, Mathura, and Bengal. Though the king was a staunch Hindu, yet Buddhist monks were held in high esteem and received royal patronages. What is the meaning of patronages? They were provided all sort of monetary help by the ruler. So this is how we come to know about Fa-hien. He was a Chinese Buddhist monk who came to India, and his record, his book helps us or helped us to reconstruct the history of the Gupta Empire. So this is very important. As per the reduced syllabus, you have to go through this. Fa-hien gives in his book a detailed description of Patliputra, which now is known as Patna. It had big Buddhist monasteries. So it had big Buddhist monasteries where hundreds of monks imparted education to students who flocked from all parts of the country, all parts of India and abroad. The students flocked there and they studied. There were many free hospitals and dispensaries in the city, maintained mostly by the charitable householders. So what he saw, that is very important. What he saw, what he recorded, that is important because we were not there. Historians were not there. So his eyewitness, what he saw with his eyes, what he passed through and what he recorded is very important for us to understand about the Gupta period. So Fa-hien also, Fa-hien also left behind valuable informations regarding the overseas trade of India. He says that ships full of precious merchandise left ancient harbors of Sopara, that is Maharashtra, Bharuch and Cambay, that is in Gujarat, for distant foreign markets. In India, or we can say India earned a lot of foreign exchange in the shape of gold and other precious metals. So see how much information we got it after going through Fa-hien's book and his visit to India. Okay, now next one is Huangshan. Just we'll see what information we get it through the visit of Huangshan. Who was Huangshan? Why did he come to India? That is also very, very important for us to go through it, just for our general knowledge also. Okay, Huangshan is the most famous of the Chinese Buddhist pilgrimage, who has left records of the travel of the country. He left China in 629 AD. He left China in 629 AD. Reached Punjab after passing through Taskand, then Samarkand, okay, Gandara, then Kashmir. So he traveled in different Buddhist centers in the country between 630 to 644 AD. Different Buddhist centers were traveled by him. And during this period, my dear, he spent few years staying in the Buddhist universities at Nalanda in Bihar. Buddhist University, Nalanda University, which we'll discuss in the next class in detail about Nalanda University. Okay, so he stayed there in the Buddhist university that was known as Nalanda University, that is Buddhist University that is in Nalanda in Bihar. So he wrote a full description of his journey and experience in books known as Siyuki. Siyuki. What book he wrote? Siyuki. So he wrote a book known as Siyuki. In Siyuki, everything is mentioned. So what it is all about Siyuki? The record of the Western world. Siyuki means record of the Western world. In 661 AD. In which year he wrote this book? Siyuki. Siyuki. So this book throws a light on political, social, economic, as well as religious life of the people of that age. So definitely this is very important. Social, economic, political, religious life is very, very important for us to understand. So he throws light much on that. So this is all about Fa-hien. But let me tell you short about Fa-hien. Unlike Fa-hien, this man Fa-hien, Huangshan made it a point to mention names of rulers through whose kingdom he passed. Whenever he passed through in his travel, he mentioned some of the names. He was held in high esteem by Harshavardhana. Okay, that is in 606 to 647 AD. He passed through his kingdom also. Who organized a grand religious convention at Kannauj, that is in Uttar Pradesh, in his honor. Okay, so he had mentioned few of the names, but our main focus is to know more about the Gupta period or the Gupta Empire. So these two Chinese Buddhist, Fa-hien and Huangshan. Huangshan also was a Chinese and Fa-hien also was a Chinese. So both of them. So you can see the relation between India and China. So now we have we are going through a very difficult phase. The relation of India and China is not very cordial, but you can see Fa-hien and Huangshan, they came to India long time back as a pilgrimage to visit the Buddhist monasteries and places of Buddha where he visited and lived. So this is all about the literary sources. The before one Kalidasa, second one we can see Fa-hien, Huangshan. Fa-hien is there, Huangshan is there. So this one is to be noted properly. We have to go through it properly. Okay, he has written a book called Fokoki. He came to India in 399 AD and left in 414 AD. So this is all about the beginning of the Gupta period, or we can say we are trying to enter into the phase of the Gupta Empire. We are trying to enter into the phase of Gupta Empire. So in the next class we will discuss about education system, education, that is the role of Nalanda University. We'll discuss about Aryabhatta, about science and all. We'll discuss that in detail. It's very, very interesting, my dear. Please stay tuned so that in the next class I'll be discussing about Nalanda University, which you have heard but you have not known properly about Nalanda University. Okay, children. So hope you all have understood this part. So we'll meet again in next class very shortly. Very soon we are going to meet and we'll discuss about Nalanda University. Till then, please take care of yourself. Stay safe. Take care. Bye bye.